History is not just a collection of dates and names, it is the story of people, ordinary men and women who dared to dream of a better tomorrow. In the heart of the 20th century, when America called itself the land of the free, millions of African Americans were still trapped in the shadows of injustice. Their story is one of pain, courage, sacrifice, and hope. The Civil War had ended in 1865, and slavery was abolished, but freedom did not mean equality. In the South, Jim Crow laws rose like an iron wall, separating Black from white in every part of daily life. Schools, buses, restaurants, parks, even drinking fountains carried signs of segregation, white only and colored. African Americans were denied the right to vote through unfair literacy tests and poll taxes, and groups like the Ku Klux Klan spread terror to maintain white supremacy. By the 1950s, almost 100 years after slavery ended, African Americans were still living as second-class citizens. But a storm of change was quietly building. It began with small, courageous acts, like that of Rosa Parks, a quiet seamstress in Montgomery, Alabama, who on December 1, 1955, refused to give up her bus seat to a white passenger. Her simple act of defiance became a spark that ignited the Montgomery Bus Boycott, during which the African American community refused to ride city buses for 381 days, walking miles to work, sharing rides, and enduring hardships. A young pastor, Martin Luther King Jr., emerged as their leader, preaching love, nonviolence, and perseverance. He inspired thousands to stand firm, and eventually, the Supreme Court declared bus segregation unconstitutional. This victory, though monumental, was just the beginning of a larger struggle. Martin Luther King Jr., with his deep and rhythmic voice, became the face of the civil rights movement, preaching the power of nonviolence and equality, reminding people that darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. And hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. By 1960, the movement gained momentum through the courage of college students who staged sit-ins at whites-only lunch counters in Greensboro, North Carolina. They were refused service, attacked, and arrested, yet they did not leave, inspiring waves of similar protests across the South. Soon came the Freedom Rides, where young men and women boarded buses to test desegregation laws, facing violent mobs, burned buses, and brutal beatings, all while television cameras broadcasted these injustices into American living rooms, forcing the nation to confront its ugly truths. In 1963, Birmingham, Alabama, known as the most segregated city in America, became a turning point. Peaceful demonstrations, led by King and other activists, including children and teenagers, were met with fire hoses, police dogs, and mass arrests. King wrote his famous Letter from Birmingham Jail, asserting that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. These images and words stirred the nation and the world, marking the civil rights movement as a fight not just for the South, but for all of America. Later that same year, on August 28, 1963, over 250,000 people gathered in Washington, D.C. for the historic March on Washington. Here, King delivered his immortal speech, "I have a dream, that one day my 4 little children will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character," a message that inspired millions and became the anthem of hope and justice. The path to equality was marred by blood and sacrifice. Activists faced imprisonment, violence, and death. Churches were bombed, as in the tragic killing of 4 little girls in Birmingham, and marchers on the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Alabama were brutally attacked on what became known as Bloody Sunday. These sacrifices drew national attention, compelling President Lyndon B. Johnson to push for legislative change, leading to the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which outlawed segregation, and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which empowered African Americans politically. Yet, the victories were shadowed by tragedy. Leaders like Medgar Evers and Malcolm X were assassinated, and in 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was killed in Memphis, Tennessee, sending shockwaves across the nation. Despite these losses, the movement's legacy endured, planting seeds of courage and hope that would continue to inspire generations. The civil rights movement demonstrated that ordinary people could create extraordinary change, that nonviolence could be mightier than weapons, and that dreams, when shared by millions, could reshape a nation. The voices of Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King Jr., and countless unsung heroes remind us that the long arc of history bends toward justice. It is a story not confined to textbooks. It is alive in every fight for equality, every march for justice, and every voice that refuses to accept oppression. The movement taught that courage is not the absence of fear, but the determination to act despite it, that true strength lies in unity, and that the pursuit of justice requires persistence, patience, and unwavering hope. And so, the civil rights movement is not merely an American story. It is a universal story of human dignity, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of freedom. It reminds us that every act of defiance, no matter how small, can spark change, that every voice raised in protest contributes to a larger chorus demanding justice. When you hear the words, "I have a dream," remember that this was not just the dream of Martin Luther King Jr., it was the dream of a people, the dream of a nation struggling to live up to its promise, the dream that continues to call to us today. This is the story of courage against oppression, of hope against despair, of ordinary individuals who walked a long, difficult path toward freedom, leaving behind a legacy that challenges us to keep moving forward, to keep believing in equality, and to never stop striving for a world where justice, compassion, and humanity prevail. It is a story written in tears, blood, and unwavering faith, a story of marches that stretched for miles, of voices that rose in unison against hatred, and of a dream that transcended generations. It teaches us that history is not just what happened in the past. It is the living memory of courage, a guide to the present, and a beacon for the future. The civil rights movement reshaped America, influencing laws, culture, and the very soul of the nation, reminding us that the fight for justice is never truly over. But every step, every sacrifice, and every voice contributes to the march toward freedom. It is a testament to what humanity can achieve when hope and perseverance outweigh fear and oppression. And it stands as a powerful reminder that ordinary people can indeed change the course of history, leaving an indelible mark that continues to inspire generations to fight for justice, equality, and dignity, wherever and whenever it is denied.